Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Um, Let me start off with some macro developments. The IMF has approved reserve currency status for China's yuan. China's currency is to have a 10.92% weighting, topping the yen and the pound. Lagarde says China's currency meets freely usable standard. It's the first change in the SDR's currency composition since 1999, when the euro replaced the Deutschmark and the French franc. Holger very kindly tweeted an image of China's renminbi weighting in this new reserve currency quota. Home Thoughts. Potten Tash tweeted, "Lamu, the oldest town in Kenya, is a must visit. It is one of my favorite places to visit. I've been there since I was a young boy, and if you haven't, you should." Carl Bildt, "Nice view of Kabul these days. Looking forward to seeing President Ashraf Ghani. Looks very, very festive, doesn't it?" And then I like this: "Restored photos from 1915 retrace Shackleton's Antarctic voyage." This beautiful photograph of an elephant caught my attention. Let me put that up. Look at the sunlight. And then that took me to Raymond Carver, Elephant and Other Stories. "I'd like to go out in the front yard and shout something. None of this is worth it. That's what I'd like people to hear." And on that note, let me put up a photograph I took of an elephant, or a few elephants, in the Amboseli in 2013. All too often, what readers do is judge profound what they've failed to grasp. And this is a journal on the reception and detection of pseudo-profound bullshit. Wholeness quiets infinite phenomena. That's Nanex LLC. Political reflections. To see China's evolving foreign policy, look to Africa, says Business. Look to Africa, where a desire to protect economic investment is leading to a revision of the country's hands-off approach to the internal affairs of other nations. China's President Xi Jinping begins a 5-day African visit on Tuesday that he'll use to showcase China's expanding role as a protector of regional security, as well as a provider of infrastructure and a consumer of resources. China has pledged $100 million of military aid for the African Union, sent an infantry battalion to support peacekeeping efforts in South Sudan, and deployed frigates to fight piracy off the Somali coast, leading the country to consider building its first overseas naval resupply station in Djibouti. Such initiatives are a clear departure from Beijing's aversion to military or security intervention in Africa. The announcement suggests a rethinking of Chinese priorities on the continent and marks a recognition that China's participation in conflict resolution will be an unavoidable byproduct of increased Chinese engagement. China, of course, is Africa's biggest trading partner, with two-way flows exceeding $220 billion last year. The pace of investment has slowed. Xi will propose new thoughts, new policies, and new ideas for developing ties with Africa. China is approaching Africa a little differently than it used to, said Xin. It's not reached the point yet where you could say they have abandoned the principle of non-interference, but it certainly has reached the point of a redefinition of what non-interference means. A lot of African countries, particularly the big commodity exporters like Angola, will be hoping for a Hail Mary pass of some kind, a remission in loans, but I think that will remain a Hail Mary pass. President Obama paid a solemn tribute to the victims of the Paris attacks yesterday. Let me post that photograph. He also met with Vladimir Putin and urged him to decrease tensions with Turkey. Let me put up that photograph as well. Putin is saying that Turkey shot down the jet to protect ISIL oil supply. We have every reason to think that the decision to shoot down our plane was dictated by the desire to protect the oil supply lines to Turkish territory, he said. We have received additional information which unfortunately confirms that this oil, produced in areas controlled by ISIL and other terrorist organizations, is transported on an industrial scale to Turkey. He's not wrong. Turkish authorities claim the Russian jet crossed into Turkey's airspace prior to being shot down. Put up that image. Erdogan has said that he would resign if Putin's IS oil trade claims are proven. The key point is proven. I'll put up a photograph of Erdogan and reiterate that he is a fire starter. Now, this visit of the Pope to Africa has been phenomenal. He visited a mosque in the Central African Republic. He said Christians and Muslims are brothers and sisters on his mosque visit. And listen to this, which I thought was really powerful. He says fundamentalism is a disease of all religions, including the Roman Catholic Church. Fundamentalism is always a tragedy. It is not religious. It lacks God. It is idolatrous, he said. We Catholics, we have a few, even many fundamentalists. They believe they know absolute truth and corrupt others, he said. I can say this because this is my church. In extraordinary scenes before he held a papal mass at the capital's Barthélemy Boganda Stadium, a group of Muslim rebels from the PK5 area leapt out of two pickup trucks, all wearing t-shirts bearing the Pope's image. As they pushed through the crowd, in an area where Muslims usually do not dare to venture, people cheered and shouted, "It's over." He really is a star. Ask any Saudi where power is concentrated today, and they will point to the younger royal, Mohammed bin Salman. Put up a photograph of him. And clearly he's apparently on the precipice here, in my view, where he's thinking of beheading about 52 people, not least of one of whom is a fellow called Nimr al-Nimr, and that will cause an absolute revolution in Shia areas in Saudi Arabia if he does that. And that's why I wrote a few days back that, a very young crown prince, or deputy crown prince, is likely to lose the kingdom over this, in my view. Very interesting conversation between Afshin Rattansi and John Pilger. The link is there on the website. I doubt if there are 700 active moderate foot soldiers in Syria, and I'm being very generous. This is Robert Fisk. At one point last week, one of Cameron's satraps was even referring to this phantom army as ground troops. I doubt if there are 700 active moderate foot soldiers in Syria, and I am being very generous, for the figure may be nearer 70, let alone 70,000. And the Syrian Kurds are not going to conquer IS for us. They're too busy trying to survive the assaults of our Turkish allies. Besides, aren't the moderates supposed to be the folk who don't carry weapons at all? Who's ever heard before of a moderate with a Kalashnikov? The Syrian regime's army, who really are ground troops and who never worried about the moderate rebels because they always ran away, are the only regular force deployed in Syria. And thanks to Putin, rather than PR Day, they're beginning to win back territory. Yet, after losing at least 60,000 soldiers, killed largely by ISIS in the al-Nusra front, the Syrian army would be hard put to fight off an assault on Damascus by Dave Cameron's 70,000 moderates. If this ghost army existed, it would have already captured Damascus and hurled Bashar al-Assad from power. He's not wrong. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro 105.89. Dollar index above 100. Japanese yen 122.90. Swissy 102.74. Pound 150.96. Aussie, which has been on the bounce of late, 0.7281. Indian rupee 66.505, South Korean won 1158.27, Rial 386.87, Egyptian pound 783.01, and the South African rand 1440.68. US 2-year yields have posted their biggest monthly rise since March 2010. This is from Volga, and this is what is underpinning the dollar. I'll put up a 1-year dollar index chart. It's trading on the basis that the December Fed rate strike is a done deal. Let me put up a chart, a 3-month chart of the euro dollar. This is trading on the basis that this week easing is a done deal. Joseph Weisenthal from Twitter, it's interesting to see how the Aussie has been rallying lately, while the industrial metals have been getting smoked. It's got a valid point. Commodity markets, price for carbon near 2-year highs ahead of the climate conference in Paris. Gold, last trading at 1070. Put up a 6-month chart, triple digits remain the target here. US crude, last trading at $42.25. It's headed below 40. In my view, it's down 10% since the start of November. Copper is breaking some very, very long-term support levels. Let me put up a chart. Emerging markets, the 3-month Saudi interbank offered rate, which is used to price some loans, climbed 13 basis points this month to 1.11625 on Monday. That's the biggest gain since October 2008, and the rate is at its highest since April 2009, signaling pressure building. Sub-Saharan Africa, great array of images from Burkina Faso. This is from a fellow called Joe Penny. I like this photograph. Roch Marc Christian Kabore has been elected Burkina Faso's new leader, the second civilian to become president since the West African country won independence in 1960. He was the Prime Minister and Speaker of Parliament under Kabore. And I think, some folks have got an issue with that fact, but I think, the signal from Ouagadougou, which I spoke about in 2014, has come out, in my view, very loud and clear. This is an interesting chart I found about African trade with Africa. Have a look. Europe is still our main counterparty. Standard Bank is to pay $32.6 million over Tanzania bribery scandal. Settlement relates to the banking division's work in 2012-2013 on a $600 million private placement of sovereign debt to finance electricity, water, and other infrastructure work in Tanzania. Original fee on the capital raising proposed by the then London office of Standard Bank was 1.4%. Plans for the transaction stalled. Later the fee was raised to 2.4%, and the former Standard Bank units agreed to pay 1% to a local company in Tanzania. The chairman of EGMA and one of 3 shareholders was Harry Katilia, who was also head of the government tax agency, the Tanzania Revenue Authority. As a result of the new fee arrangements, $6 million was paid to a new bank account in the name of EGMA in March 2013. Within 10 days, the account had been almost entirely emptied after 4 cash withdrawals. The proceeds have not been traced. South African All-Share is a beacon in the sub-Saharan African equity space. It's up 3.69% this year. The rand extended losses against the dollar, hitting an all-time low of 14.46 yesterday. This was after trade data was released, which showed the trade gap at $1.5 billion in October, considerably more than most economists had expected. Dollar rand, let me put up a 6-month chart, that's down 20% year to date. Egyptian pound at 783.01, the Egyptian EGX30 closed at 2-year lows. That is down 28.79% this year. The Nigerian Stock Exchange All-Share Index fell 1.2% to the lowest level for 3 years. The Nigerian gauge has declined in 18 out of 21 trading days in November and is headed for a monthly drop of 6.5%. Naira unchanged, but forward prices seeing it weaken 18% to 242.5 in a year. Nigerian all-share down 20.98% this year and at 3-year lows. Very interesting piece in Forbes India about someone called Sunil Vaswani and his Stallion Group, which is making waves in Africa. The stunning mansion in Dubai's Emirate Hills gated community is crammed with countless frills, some customary, some not. The Eastern European Shepherd Guard dogs, the liveried staff, and the lineup of shiny Ferraris, Rolls Royces, Porsches, Lamborghinis in the indoor lot set the tone. Then there is the exotic bird-filled aviary, the bowling alley, the nightclub, the automatic car wash, the outdoor singing bar, frequented by the likes of Lionel Richie, and for the deepest of pockets a basement casino. The tables come alive when Sunil Vaswani, chairman of $3.72 billion worth of revenue, Stallion Group, headquartered nearby, hosts his famed soirees. Holds considerable sway in Nigeria, where it has the largest cold storage facilities with capacity of 130,000 metric tons and full backup power. Phenomenal infrastructure in power and cold chain deficient sub-Saharan Africa. The Ghana Stock Exchange is down 12.69% this year. Kenya's inflation rose to 7.32% year-on-year in November, from 6.72% the previous month, driven by a jump in food prices. A big jump because there was also a sharp fall in the price of fuel in that month. And now we've seen an excise duty increase. We're going to see an increase in water, beer, car prices. Beer is going to be up 30 shillings a litre, kerosene by 5 shillings 75 cents a litre, bottled water by 7 shillings a litre, juice up by 10 shillings a litre, and a charge of 10,000 shillings will apply to motorcycles, and also another charge on imported cars. Panorama found British American Tobacco, Kenya, amongst others, illegally paid politicians and civil servants in countries in East Africa. The truth is that we do not and will not tolerate corruption, no matter where it takes place. Then there's this fellow Paul Hopkins who worked for BAT in Kenya for 13 years. BAT is bribing people and I'm facilitating it. The reality is, if they have to break the rules, they will break the rules. According to a report in the Star, Moses Wetangula has been named in the BAT mega bribery scheme. So a lot of scandal. BAT did not trade yesterday, and it's just traded at an unchanged level today. If you're interested in the share price, have a look. The link is there on Rich Wrap-Ups. Kenya shilling 102.20, stable. Nairobi all share bounced 0.38% yesterday, but it's still down 11.92% year to date. NSE 20 bounced 0.54% yesterday. Kitna Titch of Uchumi, if you haven't seen those interviews I did with him, have a look. They're linked on the front page and on Rich Wrap-Ups, and I also wrote a piece over the weekend. And very sad news, mass panic and several wounded as Kenya University stages simulated terror attack. This was at Strathmore University, a place I've been to severally to speak at, not least of which I think last week for the THUD thing. So it's very sad to hear about, and clearly you've got to look at these terror drills in future, I think, because you can't have people dying on a drill. Once again, thank you for stopping by.